Hi everybody, it's Dale Walsh, the Poetic Warrior today, and actually what happened was my planned guest Max Guttman was had a migraine headache, and I'm sorry about that. And ultimately, that means that I'm going to just do a solo show for for a little while and tell you about my history, and just hold on, and we'll get the show started. Okay, that's good. Sorry about that. Let me see. Background. Uh, and the show. Hi, sorry for the technical glitch, but here I am. I'm Dale Walsh, the Poetic Warrior, and let me just. I'm just my as I said, my guest canceled at the last minute, so I'm just going to do like a short episode today and talk about myself and let people know a little bit about myself. I've been doing solo shows a little bit in recently, and hopefully, you find this interesting, and I just let me begin with a poem to my mother, and maybe I'll do some more poetry today. But to my most beloved Smidge, confront death with the bold face of God, to deny its victory as you unfolded in the embrace of Jesus, who alone knows the extent of the suffering you endured when you spent 80 plus years on the earth, even as you leave for a bit your husband and your children, who shall never forget your love, devotion, compassion, and sacred understanding before your departure to a welcome by your parents and brother gone to blessed heaven, where the deity awaits to give you a vast feeling of true grace one cannot know while stuck on the globe, where you have lived your wonderful life full of the joy and happiness you impart daily to those in contact with you, while they thank the Lord for pleasure of your presence on the globe, where all continue to feel the divine bliss of your history, with which you have always anointed, with which you have always been anointed, as you ascend the celestial banquet table, at which we shall all sit one day. So that was like a reaction to my mother's death in 2012. She died basically 3 days before Christmas. Christmas was always her favorite holiday. She went all out for Christmas, and she was like an amazing woman. Her name was Mary, and uh, so I had you know the ability to have a Mother Mary as my mother, and she was divorced twice. She remarried twice. The third time, her marriage was like a blissful union with Judge Lawrence Walsh, who was the Iran Contra Independent Counsel, and so uh, basically, I was born and raised. I was born in Midland, Texas, and raised in Abilene till the age of 10, when my mother divorced and remarried, and I was snatched from the perfect womb of Abilene, Texas, to the hustle and bustle and society of New York City, where I attended a very good prep school. And in the eighth grade, it only went through the eighth grade, and then you were expected to go to boarding school. So I went to Phillips Exeter Academy when I was 14, and sort of left my parents, and I never lived with my parents again. Of course, I would visit them during vacations and everything, but After graduation from Exeter, I spent a year in England at a school called Haileybury, which was in Hertfordshire, and that was, that was like quite an experience. I passed two A levels, although it was a 2 year course. I only did 1 year, and then I went on a around the world on a cross Asia tour uh, because I had to meet my parents in Hawaii, and my parents were in Hawaii for the American Bar Association, which is the annual lawyer convention in the United States. And so I had to meet my parents in Hawaii, and I was in England. So my father said, "Well, why don't you come the other side of the world? You've never seen it." And at first, he always was like fascinated by trains. He loved trains, and in fact, he took the Canadian Express from Vancouver, I think, to Montreal one time with my mother and my little sister, and when they were coming back from Hawaii, I think. But anyway, so and well, he wanted me to go on the Trans-Siberian Railroad from Moscow to Vladivostok, and then get a flight from Vladivostok to Honolulu. But this was 1974, which was the height of the Cold War, and I nixed that idea. I wasn't going to be the only American traveling through Siberia with 10,000 miles of tundra and no legitimacy as a traveler. And so instead, my mother like arranged a trip where I went to India, Thailand, Hong Kong, and Japan over 2 weeks. And I went by myself, but there was a company my father worked for that entertained me in Thailand, Hong Kong, and Japan. It was like a big drug company called Richardson Merrill, who make Vicks Vapo Rub, among other things. And so I went. In 2 weeks. I went to India, Thailand, Hong Kong, and Japan, and it was a great trip. But I have to say that India was like the most depressing place I've ever seen. I was in this fancy government hotel, the Akbar in New Delhi, and it was like the height of opulence and well, not the height of opulence, but it was a very fancy hotel. And so I walked out on the balcony my first day there, and all I could see was like shanty town and 10 shacks and people starving. And so I visited some temples, and everywhere I went they saw me as a rich American. So whenever I would get out of my cab or however I got there, I would be like approached by like 10 people, asking for money, and it's just very depressing. But then Thailand was like the greatest 5 days of my life. My father's company had a big office there, so they showed me around. And Thailand has, at the time I was there, had like a beer that was 25% alcohol. So ultimately, I changed my reservations and spend an extra night so I could go to a company party, and that was like extremely fun. And so I got to Hawaii, met my parents, and then in this fall after that, I went to Dartmouth College, where I was a very successful student. My secondary education was very good, so I really didn't have to work that hard. I estimate I did a total of like 30 hours of homework for the whole year, and I had like a B plus A minus average. And and I was taking upper level courses, and I just was doing very well. But I was also getting into drugs. I was smoking high powered marijuana more than 5 times a day, and to be transparent, and doing other drugs such as LSD and mescaline, and never got into cocaine that much. But I did cocaine, but I didn't really get into it. And I've never done heroin. That's where I drew the line. So what happened was one thing led to another, and I came up after like 2 months of a summer term. Excuse me. I came up with what I thought was a great joke. The joke was being, "Hi, I'm God." And then, so I was walking around Dartmouth campus telling everybody my joke and laughing hysterically because how could God be 5'8"? And I was also getting increasingly paranoid. So what happened one evening was I went to my best friend for the term Steve's dorm room, and I wanted to borrow his car. He had a VW Bug, and even though I didn't know how to drive a stick shift, I wanted to get off campus because I felt that things were really closing in. And so what happened then was I swear like had a fight with Steve, and his best friend uh, said, I was talking to his best friend and putting down Steve, and Steve was getting very upset. So his best friend went and said, "Would you excuse me for a second?" I said, "Sure." And then I made peace with Steve, and his friend Dave came back with the campus cops, and they asked, "Are you Dale?" I said, "Yes." And they said, "Would you come with us, please?" And I said, "Sure." I figured they were going to take me to meet the president of the university, but instead it was a 2-minute ride to the infirmary where I was interrogated for 4 hours by 3 sets of Ivy League psychiatrists, and then put in a room, given a shot, and 2 days later I was in a mental hospital in New York City with a roommate named Gabriel. So that's basically what happened at Dartmouth. I have a poem about it. It goes Dale reviewing what actually happened, and it goes like this. "Hi, I'm God" was a joke I made after Killer Dartmouth toke of some primo Ivy League smoke, which apparently caused me to choke because in mental hospital I awoke with roommate Gabriel, the main bloke who did my delusions angelically stroke, even while doctor claimed my brain broke the moment divine gag I spoke, testifying I was only big quack, which clinicians diagnosed as psychotic attack, preventing me from getting sanity back until I came to Teaneck Hackensack to pursue resident therapy program track and deal with my evident lack of reason among psychiatric patient pack who never gave me any slack under interrogation the sorting crack. So I came to a program in Hackensack in New Jersey at the age of 20 in January 1976, and I've been in Hackensack ever since. I was in the program. I was hospitalized 9 times when I was in the program for psychotic episodes, according to my doctor. And actually, a lot of them were just like reaching a whole new level of enlightenment that threatened the status quo. So my doctor would put me in the hospital. One thing that I'm always sort of bragging about is I've been hospitalized 15 times and I was discharged 15 times. So that's something that I'm very proud of, is that I never was long-term institutionalized. So after the program, I got my own apartment, which is right here. I have been in this apartment for 41 years and since 1981. And I went back to school at Fairleigh Dickinson University, got my degree, and after I got my degree, I started tutoring people and helping them write papers for Fairleigh Dickinson students, and it was very lucrative for a while. I did it for about 10 semesters. I estimate I wrote like 300 papers. And one thing that was driving me, and it was driving me for a long time, was my delusion that I was God, and especially before my life-changing event that brought on Dewey, which I'll talk about in a second. My whole motivation in life was to prove that I was God, which obviously is something that's impossible because no one's God. I mean, we're all part of God, but no one is God. So you know, so, uh, but I was like totally focused on being God. And one of the rationales I had when I did, did have my delusion was that God needs a vacation, and I'm going to give it to him. I'm going to take his place, and and be a substitute God for Earth, while God gets a chance to explore the cosmos he created. Um, so then what happened was on September 27, 1984, I had a vision of the whole world being incinerated in a nuclear holocaust, and that was what I called the death of Dale. And that began my 31 years as Dewey, who is my alter ego and who ultimately is a personality that all my five basic personalities, Dale, Dewey, Do, Duck, and Genius, could agree on was a good thing. So I became Dewey for 31 years, but the death of Dale was like the hardest thing that I ever went through. Dewey thought he didn't think he was God. He thought he was a perfect android. So he said his program was to wait in Hackensack until Dale came back, which was not guaranteed. I didn't, during those years, I was like so into being Dewey that I was very defensive about becoming Dale again. But then in 2015, this transition occurred where I slowly, like, the personalities like synced into each other, and I became Dale again. So basically, I've been Dale since 2015, and uh, that's been like extremely good, and it's given me back my motivation. Dewey was just intent on sitting in Hackensack and waiting for Dale to come home. So he did. I didn't do a whole lot for like the 30. Well, I did things. I did my tutoring. I graduated from college, but basically I was like sort of like in a hold and a apathetic mold for like a long time, and especially from 1993, which was like my last episode where I was my last episode where I was hospitalized, and until like 2012, I call it the lost 18 years, or 2011, 1993 to 2011, the lost 18 years. And that was the year before my mother died. And my mother's death was like a pivotal event in my life. And then the judge, my father, my real father, even though he was my stepdad, he wasn't my bio dad, but he was my real father. He died in 2014 at the age of 102, and and then my bio dad, my blood father, and his wife also died. So I've had five parents, and they're all passed, but they all had like good lives and lasted a long time. So I'm happy about my genes. But and then uh, from those marriages, I say that my sisters are like an Olympic event. There's three halves, two steps, and one reel. Three halves to two different fathers. Two steps were the daughters of the judge by his first marriage before his wife died of a brain tumor. And then my real sister, who has the same father and the same mother as me. So let me read another poem. Okay, so I am just opening. This is my book, Seraphim on the Cusp of Spring. You can get it at Amazon. Just go to Poetry Collections by D.E. Walsh, and there I have 5 books on Amazon. But this is the first one, and it's actually becoming my favorite. For a long time, my second book, Fossil Fuel for the Brain, was my favorite. But I think Seraphim on the Cusp of Spring is now my favorite. But it goes, waiting to get Java refill. Lovely waitress at diner's angel, in body, face, and voice justifying high prices for burgers and stack of pancakes. Delicious with butter as the boss cashier reads a newspaper and an occasional customer laughs through the well-lit emptiness of Lost Haven, to which I retreat for the consolation of companionship. When I crave to view the vivid beauty of the server, I desire like a cup of coffee, energizing the midnight with longing and a distant reality, created by grace the fine presence of her for whom moon always glows, through unending cycle of seasons, reminding all the brevity of life. And talking about the moon, today we have like a major astrological and physical event. It's a solar eclipse, and I do follow astrology and also tarot, and all the signs say that everything is like on the verge or in the process of absolute transformation, not only in my life but in the life of the planet. And perhaps this is a nudge the world needs to really get into a mindset of five dimensions instead of three dimensions. And I don't know if you've heard, but for the last like 2 or 3 years, especially, there's been a talk about like the Christ, about the world reaching Christ consciousness, and nothing will prevent that this growth into 5D reality. But the Earth is like taking on higher vibrations and everything for 2,000 years. I can't remember what it's called at the moment, but there's a vibration. The Earth has a vibration, and that vibration is measurable. And for 2,000 years, this vibration was the same, but in the last probably like 2 years, this vibration of the planet itself has been escalating and growing and increasing exponentially. So not only is the planet growing, but it's pulling humanity and the human race along with it to a more enlightened point of view. And that's very important for mental health, because you know the way that people perceive mental illness and the the negativity that it entails is something that has to change, because as a recovered schizophrenic, I know the stigma not only from society, but more importantly from within, from the self, and how I judge myself for basically 40 years is like broken and unable to do anything, even though I was doing a lot. But it was like just the perception of my abilities was like very limited, and I had like incredible guilt for saying I was God, and that was helped very much by a pastor that at my church that I went to. My first pastor at the church I go to, and I met him in 2004. So I've been going to church every week, basically for 18 years, and but the guilt and the shame that I felt at my delusion was like overpowering. And that's what I'm talking about, the self stigma, is that until a person like comes to terms and comes to peace with his own uh, direction and path and illness even, there's not going to be hope for recovery. And that's one thing I'm working on in my coaching Live Love business. My coaching business is called Live Love, and it's for the families of schizophrenia. And I'm in the process of like developing the whole program and everything. I had the inspiration to start Live Love 4 years ago, but it's been like very dicey and patchy, setting up the program. But now I feel I'm like I'm working with a very good coach whose specialty is creating businesses, and she's very sympathetic to what I'm doing. And so I'm hoping to get this program launched in probably a month to 2 months at the most. And first off, I have to do a beta test. And if you're interested in like experiencing my coaching, You can get in contact with me here at the Mental Health Warriors, or actually, my business email for this company is dalewalsh55 at yahoo.com. That's dalewalsh55 at yahoo.com. And if you're interested in checking out what my goal is and how I'm doing it, I have a website, www.dewlivelove.net. That's www.dewlivelove.net. So would love to have you visit the website and find out a little bit of more about myself. I'm very grateful for the Mental Health Warriors for giving me a platform to talk from. And I think I'm going to wrap up now and just say, that never give up, and recovery is always an option. That's a live love philosophy. So, you know, if you need help dealing with a loved one who has schizophrenia, then please reach out and get in touch with me. And thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been a little bit enlightening. I usually don't go into my history that to the depth I did today, but the fact is that I'm trying to put the specifics of my past behind me, because if you don't if you don't kill the past, then your future will die. So I've been transforming my story especially for the last year, to focus on the present and the future and where I'm going, rather than in the past and the trials and tribulations that I went through. So have a great day, and thanks very much everybody for attending, and I'll see you soon. Okay. Thanks for coming to Straight, Sane, and Sober today, and have a great day.